Hmm. All right, greetings, greetings. So, just a quick check-in. Uh, there's a lot going on, and we only have but so much bandwidth and so much time in a day, and there's so much that needs to be done around our health, basic chores, starting a garden, and there's so much distraction around. Um, at the same time, it should be quite evident around by now the patterns that we're seeing, and with the trend with all of these cults, it's like it's apparent there are cults everywhere, right? And I know people like to do a play with words and semantics, but there are literally so much cult activity going on everywhere. I've invited people, to get educated. And also, something I would just like to make a distinction on is there's so many different types of cults. We're in a time, in a mentality of cult and personality worship. So my sister just showed me something, and sometimes you don't even want to look on the internet to see what's happening because it's distracting and it's disturbing. But I wanted to point out something. While there's so many people looking in on the various cults, the popular cults, and pointing a finger, number one, be aware that there are cults on every level of society with different uh, classes of cults. They're literally at this point not only religious, spiritual, new age cults, but there are cults, literal cults. I'm not just talking about cultist culture. There are literal cults in control for different classes. There's some for professionals, women professionals. There are literally greetings. There are literally so many different types of cults. So we're in a time where information is made available so that people can make a choice. I'm not here to tell grown folks what to do, but the information and what's happening is so glaring. It is so apparent. It is for us to step back, and we have the opportunity to see the patterns. So my sister just showed me something that's so disturbing, and it makes me think of when I left the States, and I wanted to point out something for us to be mindful with mostly young people and some folks that are maybe more mature in terms of age, that people are trying to run from things, trauma. Many of them may not have support or outlets. I'm speaking of young people. I'm not just talking about jobs that people don't like or failed relationships. But when we look at young people, some of them may realize, like, listen, I'm in a pot that's slowly, boiling, coming to a boiling point. And even though people are glorifying and all of this stuff going on, the if we look at the music videos, the gluttony, the Popeyes, these are also, if we're honest, as mature adults, this is some of what young people want to get away from. And this leaves people wide open to cults. It's for us to look at the whole picture. There's a lot of these young people, a lot of them are on their own. Or you may have some individuals that are on their own that sincerely want to live just a sane, peaceful way of life. Just a peaceful way of life. I know when my sister just showed me this video, it made me think of this is what I wanted to leave in the States. But also, let's not get it twisted. The mentality of just out of control behaviors is global, destroying the environment. People are focusing on chemtrails, but just our behavior is like it's out of control. And if we are honest, there are a lot of us in our communities that we are turning a blind eye to this behavior. Like what I'm saying is like turning my stomach. Now, my sister said I'm very sensitive. I've been told I'm very sensitive. I don't think I'm very sensitive at all. I think if anything, most of us are desensitized. It is like just when you think behaviors can't get any lower, it just goes to new lows. And when you look in the comment section of people that are rallying and supporting this behavior, I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in a mystery art, but there are certain sayings that are actually, and I'm not big on sayings that make people not think, but there are certain sayings that are on point. That saying that the devil is busy. I am not religious at all, but that energy of just like self-destruction, self-sabotage, trauma, you've been traumatized and inflicting that in trauma onto other people. For example, people that have been abused or molested, then infecting other people with it. Or if there are adults that are very bitter, really putting that bitterness on their children. This is part of what young people, this is the other side of it that young people are trying to get away from. Some that realize, or thinking that there's an escape from it. But in any event, let me get to my sister just shared something with me. It's something called Trini Jungle Juice or whatever. One of these concerts, I'm sure it's not the first. It's so appalling and disgusting. It's not a matter of me being of a mature age. You know, we have our ages, and sex is natural to be feeling yourself and to be attracted, to other human beings. That's natural. But the behaviors are out of control. And the amount of people, in particular women, that are justifying this behavior, it's disgusting. So it's like frying pan to fire to frying pan. What are the options for people out here? It's like folks are on their own. But I just saw this concert. This is, I don't know if it's Juve time or whatever, but a Trini concert where a young, beautiful young woman is being walked through a whole crowd on a mattress, basically almost naked. Just, like it's like porn. This is all on social media and it's open. But the most disturbing, even more disturbing, is the amount of people, especially women, that are encouraging this behavior. And we always want to talk about government agents and agents and agents. We could take the label of agent off of it and just look at the behavior. Whether it's black, white, locks, got raw food on it, it's out of control. And it doesn't seem that anyone has a vested interest in saying anything. Now, can we save people? No. Obviously, people are going to go right over to cults. You can tell some people, give them information, they'll still go right into it. The information is there. But it's like nobody is saying anything. It's like we're scared of the young generation, or is it more we're scared of the young generation or what we have or the collective has created? It is so out of control. I find it is vile and it's disgusting. And there were some people speaking up in the comments, but they were all young people said, this is your generation did stuff like this. I have never seen it to this degree. The acceptance of porn, and if we're not peeping it, of women it being slid in, we want to be so politically correct. Again, I'm not preaching to anyone, but we're turning a blind eye. I could care less what people label and call themselves. It's the behavior. It's exposing young people to things that are just not appropriate. Half of the stuff I don't think it's even appropriate. I don't even want to see. But that was so disturbing. If you look at the age range of the people in this concert, it wasn't mature adults. I don't know if folks out there are familiar with this book called Lord of the Flies. But basically, it was like an island. It was a required reading in, I think, junior high school or so. But it was required reading. And basically, it was an island of young people raising themselves, and what kind of behaviors or whatever they took on. But it is so out of control. I don't know if we might acknowledge that this is part of what young people appear to be wanting to escape or to run from. But between the video games, the sex trafficking, the acceptance of the porn, the violence porn, it's like you can't breathe. So then they get flipped right back into another religion or some new age stuff, which on the cover, on the surface, would appear to be different. But it's like different flavors of the same thing, of deception ending you up in the same place. So I would really say, folks, you are on your own. You are on your own. Discernment is probably the only thing that's going to save people. But we're just talking about chemtrails. If we just look at the behavior in our communities, that there is no self-policing or there is no accountability. Maybe policing is not the word, man. That might be triggering. But there is no accountability. And no one is speaking up. It's like you can get on the bus or the train and people are blasting music. I just watched some young woman get beat up violently in the street. Everybody pulled out their cell phones and looked at it. There were so many men that just looked in on it. And everybody's concerned about their eyebrows and microblading, which is another trillions of dollars. I'm like, where are folks? So these are some of the things that people want to escape, in addition to dysfunctional relationships. I remember one young woman saying back in the day, in one of these cults, that she was trying to change her eating and consumption and no one else was interested. So these are things, you can call it what you want, but these are things that leave people wide open to cults. And this is something I said a long time ago. There's some simple things that people may even seem overly simple that leave people wide open to cults. And three of the things that they go for, this sounds so overly simple, is your hair, whether it's perm or not. This may sound overly simple. They go after your religion, If you're worshiping a white Jesus, whatever you want to worship, that's neither here nor there. I'm just pointing out several of the things that they go after. Um, and your food, right? These are methods where people think that they're switching off something and upgrading, where it could be something underneath that they hadn't bargained for because they think these are areas we can change. But I'm telling you, the behavior is off the meters. I have never seen something, it just gets to new lows, new lows. And I'd like to just point out that people might like to think that they're not in a cult, right? It's all this play on semantics. But when we're going to a lot of these concerts, you go pay a ticket for a concert, do you expect to see porn in front of you where a young girl is being brought out on a mattress? Then the singer gets on the mattress, she's almost naked, look like they're screwing. Is it acceptable because it's Janet Jackson? I'm sorry, she's a mother. I mean, so it's like this stuff. The society is being groomed to accept certain things. We're being groomed. I could care less what people call themselves. I want to feel safe when I go into a bathroom, and I'd like the children around me to feel safe when we go into a bathroom. These things are things that I'm just noticing. Women, are we turning a blind eye to this stuff, or are we just merely okay with being entertained? People just put laughing emojis inside of the comments. Everything is a joke. What we got? We got people killing each other with chicken sandwiches. It's like this even real? We got sex trafficking, and sex trafficking global. In addition, is out of control in the Black community. Really? Really? I just learned about more of it here, of just like children that people don't even know exist, 10 and 12 years old, being sold so that their families can eat. Okay, that's one thing, but also in the States for the appetites. One of the ways the cults will get you is by your appetites and your vices. Appetites and vices. These are things that make the cult very attractive because people thinking they're getting rid of their appetites and vices. But as many of you should be able to see by now, hopefully, can see by now, that it's covert until you're in long enough, and it'll take you a whole while before you see the vices are still there with these human beings. So it's really for everybody to um, pull themselves in internally and not be dependent on a preacher or a singer or a guru to do the things and check the things and the behaviors that you can see blatantly. Because if we don't address things, if we don't address the elephant in the room, it's only going to get worse. It's like it's so out of control. Like I couldn't believe what I was watching, and I really couldn't believe the comments mostly coming from women. It would be so quick to just talk about the men folks. So everyone out here, you're on your own. I mean, I'm not looking so much at labels people call themselves as the behavior. It doesn't mean we're humans without flaws, but do we just use justifications and rationalizations for all this, for these behaviors? This is when I've witnessed, the times that I have witnessed people in the comments, just to see the patterns. When we look at young people, they're so wide open, and they're open for a reason. When they're 16, 14, 15, they're open. They're not even fully developed yet. So we like to say, oh, they know right from wrong. They still don't have the maturity, of a older adult. But then we got some older adults that we've been so traumatized that we turn a blind eye to what's happening to other young people, or we invite them, or we serve them up on a platter. So many folks like to think that the cult activity is not around them. It's a mentality, it's a mindset, and you can see it all around you, particularly in the music, between the gluttony and the music and like sexing ourselves to death. It's not special, It's not seen as special. It's not sacred. It's like, are people not even thinking of STDs and diseases, let alone these people that you don't even know, letting them into your intimate space? So out of control. And people are high-fiving it, not looking at it, and making rationalizations and justifications for this behavior. So understand, this is what makes cults attractive to many people, young people, or some people feeling like, they want a second wind in life from their mistakes, or I know I wanted to be around folks that just desired simple life, good life. I could trust the people that I wanted to be around, or so it seemed. And some fruits and vegetables, some land, and some sunshine. That's it. This is what people are running from. It's at a fever pitch. It's at a fever pitch, and it doesn't appear that any of us are either not are not allowing ourselves to be hypnotized. We willingly participate in allowing ourselves to be hypnotized. If we can't see by now what the music, how the music is being used, and the food and the sex, music, food, and sex is being, we're allowing ourselves to be manipulated, then really that's on us. And if women, we really can't see women and men, but women, that we really have to choose better. If we think we're just going to choose somebody to make children with who we don't know, we don't have a commitment. There's not a commitment to parent together. There's no planning. You know, we're being very short-sighted, and it's biting us in the backside really, 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 really bad. It's really, really, really bad. Um, so hopefully, you know, we have the opportunity to get it together, but it's like it's horrible. The concerts are like cults. You know, people getting to, you know, a fever pitch, people serving people up on a platter. You didn't even get to people, you know, chopping people up and eating them. They're being served alive, young people on a platter. Everybody's watching and cheering it on. Right? At what point do we accept responsibility? Again, we're so being so esoteric and talking about chakras and getting makeups, and you know, that we're just so distracted, but it's out of control. And many of us would like to think and point the finger and think that this mentality, it's a mentality. There are different these cults can look different, but between the politicians, you know, and the rallies, it's the same thing. It's a mentality of cult and personality worship that skirts right over personal responsibility and accountability. There is no accountability. And we're seeing it leach into every aspect of society. So I don't have all the answers. You know, is everybody numb? Out there, I don't feel I'm overly sensitive. I think we're just so numb. But the vices and the appetites, if we don't, in a personal way, address our vices and appetites, they will be used against you and exploited. Before we even get to the insecurities and the other stuff, you know, the vices, the gluttony and the sex, we're taking ourselves out. Take over sexed out, eating ourselves out, the drugs and the alcohol, it's just crazy, and the behaviors. You know, where's the sanity? And it, whether you're in the tropics, you have access to more bigger stadiums over there in the States. There's rural areas here, but there's gangs in certain areas here. This stuff is global. So that's all I'm gonna say. You know, it's up to each one of us to get it together for ourselves and just choose better. But it's really at a state. Create a great day.